How could Hamas fool both Israel and USA on recent attack? The Hamas attack on October 7 was also the worst incident to happen to Israel's defense system since 1973 and happened 2 years after Hamas seemed to have been subdued. Hello and welcome to today's video, in which we will explore the following topic. How could Hamas fool both Israel and the USA on a recent attack? But first, make sure you subscribe to my channel and click the bell button to be alerted every time I release a new video. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends if you like it. Let's delve in for more information. Source news close to Hamas said that on the one hand, Hamas misled Israel into thinking that this armed group was tired of the war and only wanted to focus on the economy. On the other hand, Hamas fighters were still being trained. Even the training happened in a visible place. But the Israeli side was fooled that this training was mainly for show. Anonymous sources write that Hamas has used an unprecedented intelligence tactic to deceive Israel in recent months with a way of impressing the public that they were not prepared to engage in combat or confrontation with Israel, while quietly preparing for a large-scale operation. Israel also admitted that it was caught off guard by the attack. That coincided with a religious holiday Major Nadina, spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces IDF, said they took us by surprise. They came very quickly from many places, both from the air and on the ground. And at sea, one of the most striking factors during Hamas preparations. The group built a mock Israeli settlement in Gaza, where they practiced military landings and training. Reuters source said Israel certainly saw this but still believed that Hamas did not want to confront it before that. According to The Telegraph, Hamas media agency recently released a video showing members of this force using paragliders to attack Israel. In the video, gunmen wearing the symbol of the Ankam Brigade were used paragliders with propellers to overcome the protective barriers. Some shooters carried paragliders directly on their backs, while others flew in pairs with parachutes attached to tricycles after landing. A wing of members of Hamas raided a building with a Star of David-shaped symbol of Israel. Sources from Reuters said that Hamas carried out a large-scale missile raid on the morning of October 7 to attract the attention of the Israelis. Air Defense Force was followed by a raid by gliders that was immediately carried out in parallel with invasions on land by armored vehicles and waterways by jet skis, according to CNN. Former Israel Defense Forces spokesman Jonathan Kanar said that due to an error, Israel's defense barrier system was not working. At the time, the country was infiltrated and attacked by the Palestinian-backed Hamas militant group. According to CNN, Israel has long been accustomed to attacks from the Gaza Strip and has built a solid defense barrier with an alarm system and an advanced air defense system in the border area of the Gaza Strip. Mr. Conry C. said that the army was caught off guard and did not regularly check the defense system, giving Hamas gunmen the opportunity to break in and attack deep into Israeli territory. He also noted that shortcomings in reporting were one of the reasons why the army reacted slowly and did not protect its people well. The armed group Hamas launched a large-scale surprise attack on Israel on October 7 by both land, sea, and air. Not after the attack by Hamas. Russia expressed deep concern and called on both sides to stop violence. Russia believes that there needs to be an appropriate negotiation to create conditions for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with a Palestinian leader, capital in East Jerusalem. However, recently, Hamas force spokesman Mr. Qassem commented to Sputnik that there will be no negotiations on an armistice agreement, while Israel is in a tense war, and said that negotiations to release the arrests of Israelis will take place after the Anasa, Florida campaign ends. He also said that it is too early to discuss negotiations because in a conflict, the battlefield will decide who controls the situation, announcing that negotiations on captured Israeli soldiers will take place after the end of Hamas's Anas, Florida operation. Mr. K added that this issue is the responsibility of the Anam Brigade. Israel's capture will take place after the end of the previous Battle of Anasa, Florida. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office announced on the night of October 7 that the Israeli Security Cabinet voted to officially declare war, opening the door for the implementation of major military operations. This is Israel's first declaration of war since the 1973 Joe War. Regarding the international response to the crisis, America's NBC television said under this country's military plans to send aircraft carriers and warships to Israeli waters to show solidarity and support for allies. U.S. President Joe Biden also announced that he would provide emergency additional aid to Israel to cope with the unprecedented attack of Hamas, but did not provide detailed information. While Russia's ambassador to the United Nations Vasily Nebia called for an immediate ceasefire and progressed towards a ceasefire as well as meaningful negotiations, as outlined in the decades by the Security Council, Mr. Nebia said this was partly the result of unresolved issues. Many regional countries also called on all parties to refrain from actions that would escalate tensions in the region. Some countries, such as Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, affirmed their willingness to mediate to end the fighting and restore peace in the region, where violence broke out in Israel, causing U.S. President Joe Biden to face a complex diplomatic situation. Unlike any previous conflict between the Israelis and Palestinians, this conflict has become one of the most volatile geopolitical issues of Trump's presidency. Mr. Biden, in the context of the conflict in Ukraine, is causing political tension in the country. In a phone call on October 8, Mr. Biden told Prime Minister Netanyahu, "We are ready to provide all appropriate means of support to the government and the people of Israel," spoke from the White House. Afterward, Mr. Biden affirmed that the U.S. government's support for Israel's security is solid and unwavering. Previously, a U.S. official said that Washington may announce a support package, new aid to Israel on October 8 as President Joe Biden's administration is trying to help its Middle Eastern ally deal with an unprecedented attack by the Hamas group. However, the current turmoil in the country's Congress and the lack of a Senate speaker remains a problem. For the Biden administration, top U.S. and Israeli officials worked all day to determine what kind of meetings Washington could support, taking place at both the Pentagon, the State Department, and the White House. According to news agency AFP, Mr. Biden said military aid is being delivered to Israel, and there will be more aid in the coming days, while the Pentagon announced news that the U.S. will provide ammunition and equipment to Israel, while strengthening U.S. forces in the Middle East to respond to attacks by Hamas. The announcement was made after a senior official in Mr. Biden's administration revealed the high-level discussions between U.S. and Israeli officials on military aid that have taken place. Defense Secretary Lee Austin said the U.S. would also send many military ships and aircraft near Israel to show support for Israel. With allied countries, Washington believes that the attacks by Hamas may be aimed at damaging the possibility of normalizing relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Austin also added that the U.S. has taken actions to increase squadron levels. U.S. Air Force F-35, F-15, F-16 and 10 fighter jets in the area. He said the U.S. would also provide ammunition to Israel. According to the AP news agency, as of the morning of October 9, at least 700 people are believed to have died in the area. Israel suffered a loss of life that Israel had not experienced in decades after the attack by Hamas on October 8. Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michelle Hogg, reported that an unknown number of Americans were among the hostages that Hamas militants kidnapped when the group attacked Israel was also involved in attacks in Israel. The French Foreign Ministry said a French citizen was killed, and the Ukrainian embassy in Israel said 2 Ukrainian citizens were killed just last week. Mr. Biden hopes to soon complete a major agreement with Israel and Saudi Arabia for the two sides to establish diplomatic relations. Officially, both have the ability to change the entire situation in the Middle East. However, violence has broken out. October 7 makes the prospect of Mr. Netanyahu agreeing to those concessions extremely difficult. The violent situation will soon become an unfavorable political issue for Mr. Biden. That concludes today's video. Thank you for viewing, and I hope to see you again in the future video. If you like this video, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and like it. Goodbye and have a wonderful day.